At the party, he tried to humiliate me in front of everyone, and that's when I finally showed him who I really am.
My name is Ethan. I'm 38, and I've always been the quiet one in the room. I observe, I listen, but I'm not the guy who needs to be the center of attention. My wife, Clara, is the complete opposite. She's this incredible, warm, outgoing person who just effortlessly connects with everyone she meets. We balance each other out perfectly, or at least that's what I always thought. It all changed on a Saturday night. We were at the Millers' annual summer party, the usual scene of music, drinks, and easy conversation. As always, Clara floated through the crowd with her magnetic grin, and I stayed close enough to be her anchor, but far enough away to have my own space to breathe. Then she introduced me to Brandon, an old friend of hers. He had this big, toothy smile, but it never quite reached his eyes. At first, he just seemed like a typical chatty, animated guy, maybe trying a little too hard to be the life of the party, but within minutes, the subtle jabs started. It began with a comment about my job, framed as a joke. Then another one about my simple, reliable car. He even took a swipe at my haircut. They were these little verbal hits, designed to draw blood while still appearing funny to everyone around us. I just let them slide. Not because I didn't have a comeback, but because I wasn't going to cause a scene at a party hosted by my wife's best friends. Clara drifted in and out of different conversations, but I could feel the tension in her glances. She'd look over at me, and I could tell she sensed something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on what it was. Meanwhile, Brandon kept scoring these imaginary points in his head, puffing himself up with every smirk he shot in my direction. He made a classic mistake that a lot of lab men make. He mistook my silence for weakness. And then came the moment that changed the entire evening. Brandon raised his voice, making sure everyone nearby could hear him. "So Ethan," he said with a sharp, needy laugh, "still driving that old sedan? Thought you'd have upgraded by now." A few people in the group chuckled politely. I felt that familiar, hot sting of public embarrassment spread from my chest all the way to my ears. Brandon watched me, his eyes locked on me, waiting. He was waiting for me to get uncomfortable, for me to shrink. But all he did was wake up a part of me I hadn't used in years. The version of myself that was tired of being overlooked just because I don't shout. I took a slow, deliberate breath. I turned to him, looked him right in the eye, and said, calmly but firmly, "Brandon, I like my sedan. It's reliable, it's efficient, and it does exactly what I need it to do." Some of us don't measure our worth by how loudly we shout or how flashy we appear. The entire group fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Brandon just blinked, caught somewhere between shock and pure embarrassment. His condescending smirk completely collapsed. I hadn't been dramatic. I hadn't raised my voice. But I had spoken with a level of confidence that was quiet yet absolutely unshakable. I glanced over at Clara. Her eyes were wide with what looked like admiration. A spark that reminded me exactly why she chose me in the first place. And just like that, the social hierarchy Brandon had been trying so hard to build completely evaporated. He mumbled something and backed off. The conversation started to flow again, but the tension in my chest had melted away, replaced by this steady, grounded sense of pride. Not because I had won some stupid contest, but because I had stayed true to myself, calm, clear, and unapologetic. The rest of the evening felt different. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just different. Brandon kept his distance. The people who had overheard our exchange seemed to treat me with this subtle, new kind of respect. The kind people give you when they realize a quiet person isn't silent because they're weak, but because they're in control. Clara stuck close to me after that. Every now and then, she'd lightly touch my arm, a small gesture that grounded me and felt incredibly intimate. On the drive home, with the warm glow of the streetlights passing by, she squeezed my hand. "I didn't know you had that in you," she whispered, her voice soft. I chuckled. I didn't want to embarrass him, I said, but I wasn't going to let him walk all over me. Her smile in the dim light told me more than words ever could. For her, it wasn't about me putting him in his place. It was about seeing me defend myself with quiet strength. The next morning, we were having coffee, and she brought it up again. You were so calm, but so firm. I've never seen you handle something like that before. I just shrugged. I've always let the little things slide. But sometimes you have to set boundaries gently but clearly. Clara nodded, her eyes softening. I think I forgot how grounded you really are, she said. Last night reminded me. That simple sentence meant more to me than she could ever know. In the days that followed, everything at home felt lighter. Clara and I laughed more. We talked more. It was as if that single moment at the party had nudged something awake between us, a renewed sense of respect, admiration, and connection. About 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Brandon. Hey, man, all good from the party. Just messing around. It absolutely reeked of forced nonchalance, like he was trying to pretend it never happened. I thought about what to write back. I could have lectured him. I could have ignored him. Instead, I just typed one word. Noted. No drama. No long explanation. Just a quiet, firm reminder of the boundary that had been set. Clara saw the message over my shoulder, and she laughed. You didn't even give him the satisfaction of a conversation? I smiled back at her. Didn't need to, I said, because the real message had already been delivered the night he tried to humiliate me, and I calmly showed him the line he had crossed.